Thank you for joining the Sharpest College Football podcast. Oh my goodness. This is our Week 14 review, or in English, as we say. Thank you for joining the Sharpest College Football podcast. Our Week 14 preview. I am BuckMetrics, joined as always by the now recovered Robert Martin. I am feeling better as well. Robert, good to see you. We're both on the med now, which is much better than last week's effort.
It was rough. As you could probably hear, my voice is a lot better now. But yeah, no, it's still not 100%, still a little stuffy, but like just 100% better than last week. Last week was rough for both of us. I sounded horrible, but it was a good week. The best week of college football probably all season. Black Friday was like absolutely stacked. Like I cannot remember a better Black Friday series of games.
Yeah.
Just great games because normally there's like maybe one or two good games, but because I remember in years past you'd be like, oh, Texas is going to play like Texas Tech at noon or something, and then it's just okay, there's going to be Sidehawk and that's it. But it just started out strong. It started out with, what was the first game?
Iowa? Was that the first one?
Nebraska was the first, but there was another game. It wasn't like an SEC. Oh no, the Egg Bowl on this Mississippi State. That was first. Then it was Georgia Tech in the afternoon. That game actually was not great, but then you end off with Texas A&M, and then going right first thing into Sunday with Michigan, Ohio State in the game, and then the Iron Bowl, and oh man, it was a great weekend of college football.
Yeah, Ole Miss looked pretty good in that spot. I hope they can keep their coach because they might have some. Oh, I'm sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Yes. All right. If you are new, this is our glossary. Take a screen grab of it, save it where you have all your college football stuff. And if you are not, you are returning, especially if you're a regular, you are, as by now, by definition, brilliant. These are our Week 14 takeaways. I will start. Boy, Texas A&M. There's not a name for this one. Is this like I thought it was something hokey, like the Lone Star two-step or something like that. I couldn't help but wondering in the second half if Marcel Reese was just trying to blow up everybody's model because for the playoffs, just to say, yeah, what, time to me to buy a ticket on my own team at 25-1 before we go on some kind of tear here. He did not look solid in the second half.
Was it like, here's the thing, it's crazy, and I want to we'll explain a little bit more about this later, because there's an interesting, maybe not in this part, maybe in part two, I have an interesting question to ask you, but was you I just want to buy next week? Because if they win this game, I just don't want to play next week. And like,
literally.
You're set now. They're just like, cool, we'll play in like December, just done now. So the thing is, though, that's one end of it. The other end of it, too, is the fact that I think this Texas A&M team was just maybe a little too overvalued here. My model had been screaming for weeks, they're not that strong, they're not that strong, they're not that strong. And as I remember, I said when I was away on assignment, and even when I came back, I'm like, I went through this thing, I looked at the entire model, trying to figure out why it didn't like Texas A&M. I'm like, there's got to be something. There's got to be something wrong with the model. There's some bug somewhere, but it wasn't. It was all right. And then they almost lost to South Carolina. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're not that good. And last week my model had Texas outright in this game. And I didn't want to touch it. I think that was still the correct option. I think that was still the correct play. But my model outright called that Texas was the better team. And did I have Texas minus 10? No, I had Texas minus 2. But still, though, it was very clearly directionally correct. I think this, when you look back at the season, right, Texas A&M barely beat Arkansas. I think they crushed LSU, but I think they struggled against Arkansas. They struggled against, who else did they struggle against? Someone else. They beat Notre Dame by a point, but that you could argue that had Notre Dame not missed that extra point, that game would have gone to overtime. Notre Dame could have won that game. So this could be a 2-loss Texas A&M team, right? They played
Sorry, real quick. That Notre Dame defense is not close to what we're seing now, and that was
CJ
Carr's second career start. So
yeah, and this is the thing, right? I think there is a very strong argument that this Texas A&M team had a very soft schedule, with the exception of Notre Dame, which is a better team now than they were then. And yeah, I think that this team might have been massively overvalued, and this is now just the coming to earth part. And I'm curious to see who they will play in the playoff. This is also kind of interesting now because it's the second straight year where Texas A&M has been undefeated or almost undefeated, and they just collapsed near the end. This one obviously ended it's not nearly as bad as last year because this was their first loss. But who are they playing in the first round? And if it's a Power 4 team, I would be worried about them. If it's like an Alabama or something else, I think they could lose that game again. So
Yeah. I think the really important, or I guess most interesting thing is, will it be in the top 8? Because I think as we saw in this game, I think that like a lot of teams, not named Oregon, basically, they're very different on the road than home. And
yeah,
I think that's the one thing to keep your eye on here.
the interesting thing is, and we'll go through the situations again, but now basically, literally immediately after the game, in the end of this game, Steve Sarkisian was like, done. Texas should be in the playoff. 100% should be in the playoff. Because now he's arguing about, we played Ohio State, other people didn't, all this stuff. And I'm starting to see, if you see, again, we don't know this yet, but if you see a Texas A&M, if you see Texas like doing a bit better this like in this round of rankings, like if all of a sudden they're in the top 12, what they could be setting the stage for is that if Georgia were to blow out Alabama, that would be Alabama's third loss. And then you could say, oh, okay, Texas lost to Florida, but Alabama lost to Florida State. They both have 3 losses. Texas has a loss to Ohio State. Alabama lost to Florida State. They lost to Georgia, and they lost to Oklahoma. I think you could start to see the beginnings of that argument now if they really want to put Texas in there, and I think they might actually want to do that. But again, that's a little ahead of ourselves. But like, I'm starting to see where if they want to put, I'm starting to see there's a possible path where if the committee wants to put Texas in, they can put Texas in.
Yeah, it's an interesting debate, and I don't know if I have enough time. I'll just put it that way. I can make a strong case on either way. But as you made that argument, again, and I think this is a good analog. You know what? No, never mind. There's strong arguments on both sides. I'll just say that. The argument against Texas basically is where you basically would have to. Yeah, no, never mind. I'm gonna. No, good arguments on both sides. That's why I like this podcast. I can talk myself into and out of stuff at the drop of a hat, talking to a smart person. Oh, thank you for that. All right. Other thing, off the field, but still over the weekend. I think Ole Miss basically showed why Lane Kiffin had to leave. They promoted Pete Golding, great for him, but to head coach once Kiffin left. But this program is basically, it's mid-tier. It's definitely not top tier. And I think Kiffin got all they could out of it. And then the way that this whole thing went down, going up to his departure and post-departure, just shows exactly why they are a mid-tier program. This idiocy about the athletic director saying, Kiffin, at one point he said, Kiffin needs to tell us before the Egg Bowl whether he's going to stay. Robert, I'm not a lawyer, but I know enough to know that this is so dumb. Or else what? You're going to fire him and pay his buyout for his next employer? Good job. I'm sure that everybody's shaking their boots at that one. That's why it's like Kiffin just laughed at that. And then literally hours, so on the day that they're having the team meeting, supposed to be at 9 a.m. Eastern time. I think they had it at 2. Just stupid. You know what? Get your stuff together, guys. And then they immediately promote Pete Golding, which good for him, but I've seen this movie up close and personal. Not in the front row, but I've seen the real story, not the script on which the movie is made. And it's called Clay Helton, the guy who's now 6-6 at Georgia Southern. And yeah, the players are happy, and yeah, we love Pete Golding and all that. You know what? Real programs run a real search. Real programs know that it's probably unlikely that they don't have, if not the ideal, one of the close to best available dozen guys for the job. And I'm not here to slam Pete Golding. I don't know anything about him. I'll put it this way. Let's say this goes the other way and Ole Miss hires, I don't know. Let's go real quick. And I'll use the euphemism that we'll come back to in a bit. Let's say that they bring in Sunbelt G.J. Kennedy from Texas State. So now Pete Golding has to find some employment somewhere. Okay? If I'm the athletic director at North Texas, if I'm the athletic director at Memphis and I have to hire somebody, if I'm the athletic director at South Florida, I don't know if I'm going to take a shot on Pete Golding as my head coach. I just don't know if he can do it. But Ole Miss is saying, yeah, no, that's it. We're solid here. It's not a grown-up program. That's why he had to leave.
There's a couple of things on that. So, one, I think this was very clearly, hey, he's here, he's available, done, he's the head coach now. That's it. And I think it's basically, hey, you've got to coach a playoff game in 3 weeks or something like that. I think it's 3 weeks basically. Good luck, right? You have 3 weeks. You're the head coach. Because if not, if it's like, am I the interim? Am I the real head coach? Am I auditioning to be the head coach? If I lose this game, what happens if a bunch of players opt out immediately? Let's say I'm the interim coach and I'm trying to work my way to become the head coach, and then all of a sudden the quarterback and the entire offensive line just says, nope, we're not doing this. We're declaring early for the draft or something. Do I then Am I done then? Does that count as my chance? There's so many unanswered questions. No, is this the correct answer? No, this is not the correct answer. This is dumb.
Yeah.
I will say that for other scenarios, for North Texas, where Oklahoma State hired North Texas's head coach. They said he can coach through the playoff. Florida obviously hired Tulane. They said he could coach through the playoff. I think UCLA is about to hire Bob Chesney, which is actually insane. That's an amazing get. Ole Miss should have hired Bob Chesney straight up.
Yes.
Any number of other teams should have hired Bob Chesney. But the thing is, they're like, he coached through it. Now, the thing is he's their rival, and maybe there's some bad blood here, and they play next year, which is going to be very fun. But, like, a lot of people are like, no, there's no way you can have him coach. But honestly, I probably would just I would have just let him coach. Honestly, I would have let Kiffin coach, and then you can sort all this out later. Because the problem is now you're forced to have to decide this today or tomorrow, or basically. But you basically had to decide this now. We're doing this on Monday, right? And we just found out on Sunday officially. So this is basically decided within hours of Lane Kiffin leaving. If you let Lane Kiffin coach, which is what he wanted, and I think LSU also said they wanted that too, then you wouldn't have to deal with this right now. You can sit back and you can wait a couple weeks, and if you lose the first round game, then whatever. Everybody goes down a certain way, you hire. But now you have to have a decision. So you hired this guy who you don't know if he's up to it, and in 2 years from now, after next year, you might be like, okay, this was a really bad idea, and then we're doing another head coaching search, right? So I don't know. I get the whole, we can't have it because it's a rival thing, but I probably would have just let him coach. I probably would have just said, whatever, this is your team, ride it out as long as you can, and that's it. But I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because if he was going, I don't know, say that Kiffin went to Penn State, I think even that's a little different. But the fact that it's in conference and you're going to be recruiting against your employer, that's a tough one. I can see both sides. But this AD, and literally, he handled it so bad that I fully expect him to be on the playoff committee next year. I'll just say that.
Yes.
It's so bad. All right, your takeaway for the week.
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt should be in the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be, but they should be. Like, this is just a really good team. Yeah, they lost to Texas, but they brought that game back. Yeah, they lost to Alabama, but that was also a very close game, too. Other than that, they've had a pretty good year. Like, they crushed this good Tennessee team. And there's a lot of problems with the way this selection works. And we're going to talk about some of the more glaring ones, but it's going to be a very under-discussed part of this that, like, Vanderbilt should have been. And yeah, they'll go off and they'll crush someone in the, I don't know, the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl or whatever. I don't know what bowl game they're going to go to. It's not. So, no, because the Citrus Bowl is one of the no, what are like the good non-playoff bowls now? Is it like the Citrus Bowl, or is the Citrus Bowl one of the playoff ones now?
I don't think it is. That might be like one of the best ones. It might be that.
I can't, there's no way. There's literally no way to remember. It rotates constantly.
Yeah. I think they would play like Michigan in that one too.
Yeah, it'll be like Michigan. They'll go crush Michigan or something. But they should probably be in the playoffs. Diago Pavia is a great player. He threw for 268 yards, ran for another 165. Like, he has changed the game of college football because of his continued lawsuits. Like, literally changed the game off the field in some ways more than on the field. Like, they should be in the playoffs. This is the definition of numbers over weird resume things, which we're going to get into in a second here. But no, they should probably be in the playoffs. And the problem is we're going to have this whole debate about Texas and Miami and Notre Dame and head-to-head wins and all this stuff and the entirety of the ACC. But we're just going to ignore Vanderbilt, and they should probably be in the playoffs. This is a good team, and they did a really good game here, and they've had a lot of good games this season, and they should be here. They should be in the playoffs.
And this is interesting. So, if I want to say it is a team a playoff team or not, can they win a first round game? So, if I look at numbers 5 through 8, they would be, if they snuck in, they would be playing one of these four: Texas Tech, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and OU.
I have them over
That's
OU.
yeah, and that's the AP Top 25, but that's close enough. Um, yeah, OU's tough because they outplay their metrics. Because for me, their metrics are so bad because their offense is dysfunctional. But that's kind of what Vanderbilt is on the other side. Like I said, Vanderbilt has the same profile as in Arkansas. They just win games. Really
Yeah.
strong offense and a bad defense, which is the exact inverse. Literally, their defense is basically as bad as Oklahoma's offense. So yeah, I would consider them a playoff team that they could beat one of those. But there's a limit. USC could probably beat a few of those.
Yes.
I think I'd put it Vandy against Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin. I don't know. That
Yeah.
expands the definition quite a bit there, huh?
That'd be a good game. That'd be a good game.
Yeah. All right. The firing range. As is often happens, you come up with a great idea and you use it for yourself, and I just repurpose it and make it my own thing. So here we go. But you can just chime in, of course. So Norvell is returning as head coach. Mike Norvell. Jay Norvell was not returning at Colorado State. Fine. I actually think that I'll give Florida State credit. I think that you see how much of a rebuild it is for guys not named Kurt Signetti at some of these big programs. It takes a while because you're starting from basically the studs and the foundation, and that's it. So I can agree with the decision. I think it's right. This is especially this year since there's such an imbalance in the open positions and the number of good candidates. And this statement, as I grab my laser pointer here, changes are needed for our program to improve. I guess that either means they're going to get rid of Gus because his offense just doesn't work in the red zone. Their deep, although their offense was it's really good at tricking our metrics, or at least
Yeah.
my offensive metrics. You can't really change the defensive coordinator because he's unassailable and just considered a really good defensive coordinator literally everywhere he's gone. So to me, the change means you have to get out of the portal culture, right?
Yeah.
That I think has been where they've made their mistake. If you're doing that, you can't say fix it in 1 year. If you're getting out of the portal culture, you have to give them at least 2 years, right?
Yeah. I don't like. Here's the thing. This team was clearly better than last year's team, but
Which is not
how
saying a lot.
if that's not saying much. That's better than a 2-win team. This team also didn't make a bowl. But what are you trying? Like, I honestly think the only reason Norvell is not fired is just straight up because I think a bunch of teams rushed to fire their coach. Florida rushed to fire their coach. LSU did. Penn State did. And Auburn, to some extent, did as well. And I think that basically the second some of those jobs openings came up, then the second you saw Signetti firm up a deal, you saw Signetti firm up, you saw Kenny Dillingham firm up, you saw a ton of other potential options. They all locked in long-term deals. And then all of a sudden, teams like Florida State, teams like Maryland, and we're going to name off a bunch of people that we know, because there's no real way to know on some of these, but we know, like Florida State. I'd say Maryland. I'd throw a Clemson in there. I'd say, because who else? Wisconsin also. Luke Fickell was retained as well. There's a bunch of these schools that took one look at the portal and said, we're not touching this. Like they saw the coaching carousel and they said, this is already a fight just for these schools to get a new coach. And this is Florida and Ella, like someone was going to grab Kiffin and that was it. But like now you're like, okay, Florida grabs Summerall, which is fine. But based on if you had said the day that they fired Billy Napier that they were going to get John Summerall, you'd say this was a failure. But now it's okay. That was amazing. Good job. That was maybe possibly the second. Now I put Bob Chesney up there, but whatever. That's a different conversation. But still, though, it's just like the bar for success now after Lane Kiffin and all the other top candidates like Dillingham and Signetti, they all firmed up. This is now like Florida State's like, what chance do we have? Florida State saying, what chance do Maryland saying, what chance do we have? Wisconsin, there's no way. What are we even trying to do here? Like a lot of these schools are just like, there's no way. We can't even remotely. We can't compete with those schools. Better schools than us are going to get a far worse deal than we would ever have. A far better deal than we'd ever have. So that's the real reason he's back. The thing is, though, is that, yeah, it's a rebuild. I would have expected a bit more, though, because you basically rebuilt everything from last year to this year. and like it had showed some moments of brilliance, but then it just combusted in hilarious ways in some of those games, like against Virginia, against Stanford, against Florida itself. Like the fact that basically the brakes, like the entire car for Florida fell apart after they fired Billy Napier. Like literally, as we talk about the firing range, like I think basically Florida's interim coach, whoever it was, I don't even know who it was, they like had two fireable offenses based off the firing range, and then somehow they destroyed Florida State. I think 40 to 24 or something. Like that fact alone is just that all should fire for Mike Norvell. But yeah, it's just it's a really bad situation there, and I think you give him one more chance. I think Gus Malzahn's going to have to go. I don't know if you keep Thomas Castellanos or not. I think you have to at this point because there doesn't seem to be a ton of talent in the quarterback portal this year either. So, like a lot, it's going to be basically like, hey, just can you make this team better than it was last year? And if you can't, then I think he's going to be gone. And I think that's what this is going to come down to.
Yeah, but again, all those things are just like quick fixes, and
Yeah,
that's why they are where they are. They've been the quick fix program that worked for a year and a half, and now you're seeing the other side of it. And again, not to make this the USC podcast, ignoring the banner that's over my right shoulder here, you've seen what USC has had to do. They portaled their way to an almost playoff bid, and then you saw it go back, and now they've done this slow rebuild, and everybody's, not everybody, a lot of people basically are saying, yeah, Riley stinks. He improved 3 games. It's a slow build if you're going to do it the right way. Unless you're Kurt Signetti, and you can just make chicken salad out of chicken crap, and then when you get to the dunces and we'll find the next Signetti. Okay. That's where you're just showing what you don't understand what the real ask is here. Yeah, it's a tough spot. But again, I think I don't know what you gain other than just maybe a better candidate pool, but who becomes such a great coach for Florida State that wasn't a candidate this year? That's the other thing that's tricky. This is like a real estate market. This isn't a new crypto coin coming on the market every day because you just name it and drop it out there. You don't just have a guy who stinks today or you haven't heard of him and then all of a sudden he's a coach that's ready. There's not 10 of those in each year. They just aren't. It takes a while to develop. So, interesting. They're in a tough spot. All right. This is interesting too. Cal doing everybody, the entire college football world, a favor by beating SMU and giving us our dream matchup of Duke, Virginia. Thank you very much.
Actually, just quick aside, if anything leads to the end of the 12-team playoff, it's going to be this game right here.
Yes. So, everybody can thank Nick Rolovich. His debut as interim coach for Cal. Very nice game. Gutsy comeback. Quarterback Jerron I got to work on this. Kiawe Sagapolatele. Okay, that's not a 19 Apex. That's from the other graphic. I think it was like about a 120 or so Apex. I just want to say there's a really cool thing about this. Apparently, Cal offered Brian Harsin the interim tag, and this is really cool. He said, you know what? Let Rolovich do it. He's been in a rough spot for a while. Let him do it, which is really cool. And then Rolovich comes through and gets the win as a pretty substantial dog here. Now, I know, he said sarcastically, there are a few places harder to play than the stadium at Berkeley, with all of 15,000 very rowdy fans. But this is a big win. It's like you're dealing with 0 home field advantage here over a ranked team that was literally playing for a shot at the college football playoff. I said that there's no manual for how to, when they fired Wilcox, I said, I don't know where to go. I think this is the answer. This guy, Cal, here's a really bad analogy. Cal and Stanford are on an island compared to the rest of the ACC. Guess what? Nick Rolovich actually took a program on the island to the Mountain West Conference title game in 2019. Yeah. He did an awesome job there. And whatever you think about why he got fired at Washington State, that was tracking there too. This guy's a really good coach. And Cal, if I'm the Cal athletic director, and I know I'll put it this way. Cal is not what Ole Miss thinks it is, okay? Cal knows that they're on the West Coast island of ACC land, ACCville. This is the best you can do. I think this is by far the best you can do. And so on Twitter, I saw today that they're going to go after Tosh Lupoi, which, again, if Tosh Lupoi is going to be named my school's defensive coordinator, I would be very concerned. And they're going to make him, if they make him the head coach, no. You've got the guy right here. He's a good coach. This isn't like you're taking a stab. I don't know. It's a good story, and I hope that Cal comes to its senses and gives this guy the full-time gig.
They will have the bowl game for that, too. So he'd probably be coaching them because they're somehow they're bowl eligible, which is Usually you don't fire head coach when you're bowl eligible, but they are. So he might get a chance there in the bowl to prove it. This game was nuts. And shout out to Cal for ripping up my SMU ACC ticket. I have it. It was ridiculous. It was like $200 or something. And not that I spent. I have like $20 to win 200 or something, which like I'm a little sad for that. But also at the same point in time, if it ends the 12-team playoff, then that's probably worth it. So that's fine. But no, it's just like this game alone is going to create so much chaos in it's probably going to end the 12-team playoff as we know it. And that's fine because I think it's very clear now that this is not going to work long term. There's going to be so much controversy created by this that it's not going to function. But no, honestly, yeah, I think they could do far worse than Nick Rolovich. I think if they try to do it, they're probably actually going to do far worse than Nick Rolovich.
Yes.
So I just stick with him, honestly. Yeah, I think that's probably the best option.
Yep. Apologies for the typo there on the Apex balloon. All right. Now's the time when Robert and I become college football Karens and we demand to talk to somebody. But again, not to lean too heavy into the AI thing. I just said, look, put receipts at the top of this graphic here, where I found it, because as the kids say, I have receipts. So AI just said receipts recops. I don't know what it's thinking there, but you know what? Okay. So I want to talk to Dave Portnoy, or I don't know. I guess I'll start with him. So after Bryce Underwood had a nice debut against New Mexico, let's not forget New Mexico, who was completely starting over. Literally, like, no returning starters at the big house. And Dave Portnoy says Michigan's Bryce Underwood is the best freshman ever in college football. I believe we had a run there where a couple of freshmen actually won the Heisman Trophy. Does that sound right?
I think so.
Johnny Manziel was a freshman, right?
I think so, yeah.
And was Jameis, did he win the Heisman? I'm not strong on the Heisman. I swear we had another freshman that won one.
He did win a Heisman. I don't think he was I don't think he was a freshman when he did it, though.
I want to say he was a redshirt freshman, and then his sophomore year he went off the deep end and did the crab leg thing.
I thought he won it and then went to the NFL the next year. So I don't think it was freshman.
No, the next year is when he got suspended and the crab leg thing, and yeah. So we've had a couple. Now, I know we're not there yet, but I'm pretty comfortable Bryce Underwood's not going to win the Heisman this year. Is that a fair assumption?
No, he's not going to win the Heisman. No.
Okay. Also, going against another freshman in the big game, Julian Sain posted an apex of 125. Bryce Underwood just a little bit short of that, Robert. A little bit short with an apex of negative 30. When we accountants put the number in the brackets, it's negative. So only missed it by 155 of tying Julian Sain for one game. Look, I can't even fault Fox. For a while I was wondering, why is Fox giving this guy a platform? But clearly there's an audience. Can you help me understand who wants to hear somebody say just insipid crap like this? I don't get it.
I think because I generally don't watch the pre-games. I try to not watch as much as possible. But I think it might have been this game. It might have been this game, like this Ohio State Michigan game, where like I was literally just like I had nothing to do and I'm just like fine, whatever. Like it's 5 minutes, I don't care. I think Portnoy was on there, or maybe it was the week before. I can't remember. It was one of them, and it was just like, what is he doing here? Like he's not an analyst. Like just have Urban Meyer talk. I don't care. Just have Urban Meyer talk. You wouldn't need to hear Dave Portnoy. It's fine. Yes. Just have Urban Meyer talk more. It's fine. I don't understand why he's there. I don't understand what value he adds to it. I also don't understand what Pat McAfee adds either, but that's fine, I guess, whatever. But it's just he doesn't but the thing is, I think the only thing Portnoy really adds is he's just a Michigan fan, and I don't know why that's a value. You just have to have a fan of someone from every fan base. I guess you could say Urban Meyer is, I guess, vaguely an Ohio State fan, but he's not like a rabid Ohio State fan. He criticizes Ohio State at times too, so it's not really the same thing. But you just have other fans. You just have like an Oregon fan, an Indiana fan. Like you just have Dave Portnoy those. I don't understand what the point of it is.
Thank you. That's You're as confused as I am. I don't get it. So at least look, I'm calling him out. You sucked. You sucked at this. You suck at almost all your predictions. I will point out that he said before Michigan played at USC, he said on a scale of 1 to 10. I have about a factor of 3 respect for USC. So enjoy that loss, buddy. Okay. And that nicer Canadian way, Robert has a different wants to talk to here.
Yeah, I want to talk to. This could have been alternated for a thing that randomly annoyed me. This was a very late, and this is a very early entrance entry actually, because this actually came out when we were recording our podcast last week. Now, this is actually not aimed at Stuart Mandel particularly. This is aimed at the committee, and I'll just read the quote here. Committee Chair Hunter Yermak makes the point I've been trying to get, though. I think he meant through, or I'm not sure exactly what. So you could read it a couple ways, but basically the point is that Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss after the Egg Bowl, which actually just happened, this was before it happened, would not be like Jordan Travis' injury because they wouldn't have seen Ole Miss play a game without him. And I've read this and I'm like, am I having a stroke? Like, I don't understand what is happening. So are you basically saying that, like, Mike Norvell should have gotten up there and be like, yeah, guys, we saw Jordan Travis's leg snap back, but he might be able to start the playoff game. Is that what Mike Norvell should have done? Is that what we're saying? That's the argument here, right? That is fine. It's day-to-day with a broken leg. Is that the argument?
No, you're missing the point. He should have said, guess what? I'm taking the Alabama job, so now you have to put my team in. Right?
Look, this is the insane thing. It doesn't make any sense. So, and I just put together here on the right here. This is like the Galaxy Braid meme, where the team should get in from winning more games. It's like Florida State should have been selected in 2024, but I don't know. Sorry, 2023, not 2024. For the 2024 playoff, whatever. Florida State didn't get in because George Travis got injured, and then Ole Miss shouldn't get in because Lane Kiffin left. And then Ole Miss should get in because the committee hasn't seen. So this is the mental gymnastics we're doing to excuse what happened to Florida State. Like, why are we doing it? Just say, yes, we kicked out Florida State because they didn't look good without Jordan Travis. Just say that. We don't have to reverse justify now the fact that we're letting Ole Miss in now based off, like, who cares? Yes, we screwed Florida State out of it. Yes, just admit that we did that and move on. You don't have to reverse justify what we're about to do with Ole Miss to justify what we did to Florida State 2 years ago. You have an SEC bias. Just say that Ole Miss played tougher games than Florida State. Just say it. It's fine. No one cares. We all know it. What are we doing here? Just no one. This is ridiculous. I don't understand why we're doing this at all. Like, it's insanity. Like, this justification makes no sense at all. Like, it's insane.
Robert, you make it sound like the committee doesn't know what it's doing.
It literally just makes up. Because this is the thing, right? We started off at the top, right? Where I said, here's the justification for Texas getting in, and here's how we'll justify it if Georgia blows out Alabama. And as I laid it out, it still makes no sense because you shouldn't do that. Because you should say, because basically the argument should be Alabama had to play an extra game against Georgia that Texas didn't have to play, so Alabama should be in anyway. But when I lay that case out, you cannot tell me that you did not make, like, you're picturing the head of the committee getting up there when you're watching the selection show there Sunday morning, and you can hear him making that argument, and you're like, I can hear him making that argument. That makes a lot of sense because that's how insane this is. The committee is tasked. Actually, here's the thing, and this is the best part about this too. People like the committee's tasked with picking the best 12 teams. Actually, no, they're picked with making a top 25 list. That's what they're like. It's not even the top 12 because it's not like here's the 12 teams they play. That's it. Because if they did that, it'd actually be a lot simpler. But they're forced with making a top 25, which technically is a top 25. Which then gets sorted to the 12th. But it has to be a top 25 because you have to have the G5 teams in there too. So this is the thing. They're not actually – no one has ever said this is specifically what they are supposed to do. Because if you did that, then you don't need the committee anymore. Isn't that funny? If you explicitly define what they're supposed to do, then you don't need the committee to do it anymore. You could just use a computer to do it. Or I guess AI or something. Right? That's the thing.
Yeah, we tried that too. Nothing really works. I guess the thing is – I think the committee, and you brought this up a couple of weeks ago. It wouldn't be a couple of weeks ago because you would have been on assignment looking for new headquarters. Or maybe it was Isaiah who made the point that the committee should be people like you and me.
Yeah.
Honest to God, and not just people who, I'm not going to say, okay, look, clearly if people are listening to this podcast, they know. People who have the same understanding as us as to, like, my capabilities, your capabilities, and the capabilities of Hunter Yurchek. There is nobody who has, like, even a rudimentary understanding of those three dimensions and says, yeah, I want that idiot from Arkansas on the committee rather than Mark or Robert. There's just nobody, except for Hunter Yurchek's wife. So...
But, like, this is the thing, right? It's just like, you say the committee is tasked with finding the most deserving 12 teams, but they never define what that means. Does that mean... Because you could say, oh, most deserving is the best 12 teams. Or you could say most deserving is the teams that have the best wins or the least worst losses, but you can make that anything you want. And that's the problem, is that there's no set definition for this. And yeah, Texas is going to complain that we scheduled Ohio State. We should have done that. Yeah, because every iteration of this committee, going back since even before the 14 playoff, has said, yeah, we don't care about that. It's mostly just wins and losses. Yeah, you go play a tough team and you lose, tough luck, right? They've always done that. That's always been consistent. So why all of a sudden we're like, oh, now we should get credit for this thing? They've never gained credit. That's why Signetti just said, screw it. We're going to just schedule nobodies. And they're undefeated. They're like, not obviously they're a lock, but they would have been a lock anyway. But this is the point, right? They've realized that it's wins. It's just wins and losses. And that a loss, no matter to who it is, worse than not having that loss. So
yeah. I also saw that the actual committee, the stats that they get are pre-prescribed. So it's kind of like we're asking a bunch of idiots to do computer work.
Yeah.
Which,
we throw them in a hotel room, hand them a couple charts and say, rank 25 teams. And that's it. And it's just like, all right, what do we use to rank them? I don't know. Use some of the charts, maybe, I guess, if you want to. You don't have to, though. What?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's the exact opposite, and I'm a skeptic of AI, as I don't know if you noticed. I put some of the slop that it generates into here. So I'm not the biggest believer in AI, but this would be, instead of using AI, let's use RU. Instead of artificial intelligence, let's use real unintelligence just to solve this. And have just a bunch of dopes just try to run numbers and look embarrassing in the process. So, yeah. All right, victory laps. I'm going to ring this bell again, and just to go back how far, when I had my first metrics of the year, back to week 5 now, I'm going back that deep. I had Arizona as a top 4 defense, and I didn't know if it was going to, I said I don't think it's going to last at number 4, but they're going to be a top 20 defense. Because they have Danny Gonzalez, maybe next year's Corey Heatherman. The name I'm predicting I'm going to be saying the most in 2026, Danny Gonzalez. And what did he do? He shut down Arizona State. Now, yeah, you want to say, yeah, it's Jeff Sims. Guess what? Other people somehow didn't find a way to stop Jeff Sims once Kenny Dillingham did the Jeff Sims unlock, but Danny Gonzalez did the Jeff Sims lock. Yep, week 5. I broke the news here, folks, and I was right on this one.
Yeah, it's actually a really funny thing about this. My sleep schedule is still messed up from international travel. So I didn't make it through this game. I didn't actually know what the result was. So I wake up in the morning, and I see a highlight reel, and they're like, oh, Jeff Sims torching the Arizona defense. And because they're only – basically he went on a massive run and ran in for 30 or 40 yards for a touchdown. And I'm like, oh, wow, did Kenny Dillingham, like, coach up Jeff Sims, and did they get the win? And no, that was their only points the entire game. Was just that touchdown. That was it. They got blown out the rest of – and I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense now. That makes a lot more sense. But no, it was so funny because I'm like, oh, did they win this game? And no, they did. They got destroyed. But no, like Arizona, man, I don't understand why. Like when you're now suddenly looking at a bunch of American teams for head coaching hires, go after Arizona. They've actually looked pretty good this year. Like I would have gone after Arizona. Like again, I think most of the coaching hires were pretty good, but uninspired to some extent. Like I probably would have gone. There were probably other targets I would have gone after than some of the ones that got the job.
Yeah. All right. This is going to be, you haven't seen this because I added this since you saw.
Oh, okay.
This is not my victory lap, and not to make this a call-in radio show, this is Hambone's victory lap. And I asked Gemini to give me a cartoon of a ham bone, and I don't know what this is, but that's a ham bone apparently. So this is a text I received on, I will point out, Monday, October 27th. That is 6 weeks ago from today, I believe, if not 7 weeks. And he texted me, it's going to be Lane. How does Hambone know this? I love Hambone. True gentleman. He is the farthest thing from a reporter, but how does he know this literally 5, 6, 7 weeks before any of these reporters actually know this? So truly well done, Hambone. A+ work.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? That calling that right there and then it nailing it, right? I think I've got to, because we're going to talk about this probably more relatively soon in terms of the coaches and specifically quality of different jobs. But like when you look at it from a GDP perspective, which theoretically is all you care about in terms of NIL, like LSU is good. Like LSU is definitely better than Ole Miss because you've got obviously New Orleans and Baton Rouge. But like with Florida, you've got Gainesville, Auburn. Yeah, that's not great. But Alabama's not great either. Georgia, yeah, you've got some Atlanta stuff, but Georgia's kind of more off to the side. So like Georgia's in Athens, so it's further out. But there's far better areas that have much higher GDP than LSU, like Florida for one. I think Georgia. There's a lot of better schools. I'm still a bit fuzzy as to exactly the hierarchy. The thing is, I think the difference here is the fact that the governor of Louisiana just took a dump truck of cash and just threw it at Lane Kiffin and said, "Here you go." I think that's the difference. Which again, that's great that in America you elect a governor to interfere with football and not actually do governor things. That's great, but no, I think that's the difference, right? Where the governor just says, "Yeah, we're gonna win at football, and here you go." And I think that's nuts, but that's not technically his job. But okay,
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard this quote, and I think it was Oklahoma, which is why they definitely belong in the SEC. There was a quote, I think it was Barry Switzer said, "We don't want a football team that's going to make the university proud. At Oklahoma, we want a university that's going to make the football team proud." Just that's the SEC, folks. So how it took Oklahoma so long to wind up in the SEC, I don't know, but you know what? Water eventually finds its own level, right?
yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
Yes. All right. Oops. Here we go. You're a victory lap.
yeah, I'm gonna give it to Penn State here. It's not really the most controversial opinion, but I've believed in this team the last couple of weeks now. I guess it was like people thought they were dead and out, and now all of a sudden they're going to a bowl game. They took out Rutgers. Yeah, they needed some last minute heroics there, but they got it done, right? 209 passing yards. That's not horrible, but only 4 incompletions is not bad. 300 rushing yards against Rutgers at 9.1 a carry, like averaging almost a first down a carry. That's nuts. Again, not the greatest season for Penn State, but based off of how this season has unfolded, getting to 6-6 and going to a bowl game, probably named after an armed forces of someone who's a provider for the armed forces. Not the greatest win, but still a win considering how the season was shaped up. No, shout out to them. I think I don't know for a fact whether or not the whole James Franklin thing and firing him is going to pan out for them. That's a conversation for another day, and I have some points I want to make about that in the future. But for now, I think it seems to be doing okay. I think for right now, the team is stabilized, and they're gonna go play in a bowl game, and I'm probably gonna be banging them in the bowl game, I'd say.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming about a month ago. Yeah, good on them for getting back on track.
Yeah.
In a really tough situation. All right. Things that randomly bugged Robert. Looking very annoyed
yes, here. This was...
All right. I'm so glad you're bringing this up.
So the thing is, this play was insane. First of all, and you can see it in the bottom right here. I had to crop this a little to do this. Basically, this was a play. Texas took the lead in the game, I think in the third quarter here. And Texas goes ahead with the touchdown, gets up, and FanDuel, and it was not just FanDuel Sportsbook here. There's a couple other accounts that tweeted this. FanDuel tweeted, "Put some respect on Arch Manning's name." This play was this is not. If you're trying to find a highlight reel play for Arch Manning, this is not one of them. So first of all, as you can see in the picture in the bottom right, zero pressure, literally zero pressure. He got out of the pocket for some reason, ran up closer to the line of scrimmage because I guess he couldn't throw it 5 more yards downfield. So fine, whatever. But no pressure, runs up to the line of scrimmage, throws the ball to his 10-foot tall wide receiver. Oh, wait, he's not actually 10 foot tall. So he has to jump up 3 feet to get the ball. And the wide receiver literally saves the play here, literally saves the touchdown. If not, he would have massively overthrown him. It would have been like, oh man, he missed that throw. But cool, okay, they beat Texas A&M. But first of all, also look at the wide receiver, just open by 10 yards in either direction, not even remotely, completely wide open, not even close to being covered, not even. And this is the thing, right? I'll put some respect in Arch Manning's name. Okay, of all the quarterbacks that are in the college football playoff, all of them could have made this throw. Fernando Mendoza definitely could have. Julian Sayin, Dante Moore.
Oh, no, keep going.
We'll keep going.
Wait, I'm like DJ Lagley.
Yeah,
Jalen Rader.
DJ Lagley would have made this throw. I've seen DJ Lagley make this throw, and a better version of this throw. This is not has Arch Manning done some good stuff? Sure, okay, yeah. And actually later this game, he actually went on a huge run, so that's fine. He's had better moments in this. But the fact that they were so quick to be see, he's good. He made that 30-yard throw, and it was only 3 feet off vertically. It's improvement. No, and this is the thing, right? And I think early in the season, I think you said this a couple weeks back too. You're if he was just even remote, just a little better, the hype for him for Heisman would be like it would be so real, right? And I think this is something to 100% watch out for next year. Where I think you just have to have, even if it's
No.
just protection, a Manning Heisman, you have to, because if he does even remotely okay things, it's like, man, he's just the best, right? That's the thing. You have to have a ticket. You have to at least have a ticket here, and that you're like, I'm throwing this money away, but I have to do this just in case. And I think that's, but it's like this was not a good play. This so many other quarterbacks could have made this play, and the fact that
Yeah.
we're like, oh, only he could do it, it's nuts. It's nuts. And you can even
I,
see it. You can actually, one more thing here. You can even see the commentary.
yes.
It's a bit cut off. The first comment's like, what a dime to take him to 12-24 on the night, and then what a terrible throw, got bailed out big time by the wide receiver. It's just like all the comments were just like, this was not a good, what are you doing here? This was not good. So it just absolutely insane that this was highlight reel worthy. The second, see, he's good. He's good. Just crazy.
Yeah, no, it's please take no offense. Like, this is one of those. There's an NFL throw for you. Please take no offense, Robert. This is not even a CFL throw in my book.
No,
Right?
I've seen some incredible CFL throws, like straight up. Like they actually do a lot of crazy stuff there in the CFL. This is not that at all.
Yeah. And again, I'm so glad. Like, I saw that and I just thought, my gosh, come on. This is just, as Chris Rock said in one of his routines, that's what you're supposed to do. Okay?
Yeah.
Right. Isaiah jumped in here, just with, and this is basically like the randomly bugged Isaiah. Now, unfortunately, there was another tweet that the author, Brett McMurphy, thought better of and actually deleted because he just got hammered. You can see in Twitter the replies just saying, yeah, that's not how it works, bro. But yeah, Clay Travis, always reliable to not know what the hell's going on. So he points out, we are one half away from Virginia versus Duke. Yes, 7-5 Duke for the ACC's automatic playoff bid. Ridiculous. Robert, have we talked about that's not how the system works? Have we also talked about why does somebody like, here's another example, Clay Travis, who enjoys hearing him talk about college football? He doesn't get it. Just, yeah, I want this guy's take on it. He doesn't really understand it, but yeah, I want to hear his take on this.
Was the other one where he was like, "Oh, the commissioner of the ACC should just overrule and put like Miami in the playoff in the championship game"? Who said that?
Oh no, I didn't see that. No, Brett McMurphy had basically the same thing to say as Clay Travis here, but again, he had the wherewithal to delete it.
It's
Whereas
like
I don't know.
the thing is, again, this is one they don't have an auto bid. The technically it's the top 5 ranked teams, which was created for antitrust stuff. But like the thing is, it's so funny that this is all the things that they create are just backfiring just this one year, where like you have this perfect storm of the auto bids coming to because of the ACC and because of the insane tiebreakers in the ACC and because of like the tiebreakers in other conferences too, where like all of these things are coming together in one fell swoop that's just causing all this chaos here. And it's just like the idea behind the auto bids was that, oh, of course the top teams in each conference are going to play for the conference championship. Why wouldn't they? Of course they'll be there. But the problem is that what happens when their top teams win their non-conference games, but then they randomly lose conference games and to teams that they shouldn't have lost to, and then all of a sudden they're not playing the conference championship games, then all of a sudden your auto bids backfire. And that's what's happening with the ACC. And
Yep.
to a lesser extent the SEC, but still though to the AC. Like again, it's insane that Texas A&M just loses one game. It's up, you're done, gone. You're not. You can. It doesn't matter because it's fine. But and this is a fun thing. I was thinking about this the other day. What if this was a 4? What if we didn't have the 12-team playoff? What if this was only a 4-team playoff? What are the 4 teams?
Yeah, boy.
Is it? Do you just say, okay, I guess it's Indiana, Ohio State, Texas Tech if they win, and then the SEC champion, and then that's it? Like poor Oregon, well, you lost to Indiana, you're not the best, you're done. Texas A&M, you're done too. Like, is that literally what you like? I mean, it doesn't matter because that's not happening this year. But like, when you start thinking about what a 4-team playoff would look like this year, it'd be like Oregon shouldn't have lost that one game.
Yeah, I've made a point that I like the new conferences because they're so competitive. But yeah, a 4-team playoff with how the conferences are now it might result in just, I don't know, actual bloodshed. Yeah, the teams affected basically they lie. I'll just put this gently. They lie in places that are not afraid to use their guns for certain causes. So I'll just
Yeah,
say that. But to each his own. Right.
but no.
Oh, sorry.
So and just back to the point here, right? The ACC wrote these rules, right? Like they did this. Now, I don't know how they could fix this because that's not. Can you just be like whatever in the event of a tie, just whatever the committee says? But then they're using, oh, we have to use the sport. There was this insane thing where all the graphics would be like, oh, this is how we think, this is how the results would work if the sports source rankings are what we think, but we don't actually know what they're actually probably available. It's like what are we doing here? Like, why are we using something that we think is going to work a certain way? Like, it's what is even happening? I don't.
Yeah, and I see this in horse racing. For some reason, my two favorite sports have fans that are never going to be happy. I'll put it this way. It's a very difficult situation because some of them have computer rankings, some have the idiots playoff committee rankings, which I can actually see because it's more relevant in some cases. But there's not a lot of pleasing people because when the Big Ten went to divisions, you had leaders and legends, and it's like, this is stupid. And so then we went to East and West. People were like, the West is so bad, these divisions suck. And then they expand, they get rid of divisions. Now it's, this is too big, it doesn't work. Guess what? We're out of ideas, guys.
Yeah.
And to quote Argo, one of my favorite movies, because it glorifies your wonderful city, your wonderful country, Canada. This is the best ballot option that we have.
Yes. That's what also they said about democracy too. Democracy is the least worst. It's better than all the rest. It's bad, but it's better than all the rest. This is the thing, right? Because I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, we got to go back to the division system. This current system just doesn't work." I'm like, "Oh, so you want Ohio State versus Iowa in the Big Ten championship game? Then is that what you want?" That's the thing, right? Because if you arbitrarily, because like people are like, "Oh, okay, Ohio State didn't play anyone all season. The only good team they played was Washington or Michigan, obviously Michigan." But okay, so what do you want to redraw the divisions? Okay, so you have a division with Ohio State and Indiana and Penn State, which also they played Penn State, and throw Michigan in there too. But if you draw the divisions this year so they're competitive, then if you go back a year, then they were not competitive. Then just like, oh, then Oregon would have crushed the West Division. They would have not played anyone all season, right? So this is the problem with the whole system is that you can never figure out reliably, and this is true for all of them, you can never figure out reliably which are going to be the good
Yes.
teams or the bad teams. You can never do that. And if you try to design a system to do that, it will fail. And then you're going to have even less results and even worse, lesser percentage results in this. What you're probably going to have to do is you're going to have to just say, screw it, we're going to have geographic divisions. But I think you're just going to have to say then they play each other for a meaningless conference championship game, and the top two teams in each division are going on anyway, and then we're going to have a committee take care of the rest of it anyways to fix any. Because again, in this case, like if Oregon and Indiana had been in the same division, right, and it had been a 14 playoff, then it's okay. Oregon lost to Indiana. Better luck next year. They just lost that one game, so you're done now, right? Same thing as Texas A&M. Oh, you lost to Texas. Not better luck next year, right? This is the thing where it's like with the divisional system, like how many times did the Iron Bowl not determine who went to the SEC championship game? How many times was it like, oh, Alabama lost to Auburn and now they're not going to the conference championship game because of some weird tiebreaker? So now all of a sudden, in the two-team playoff system, that'd be it for them. They're done, right? Like that their season's done now because they lost the Iron Bowl, right? They play a bowl game, but they're not going to the SEC championship game, and then they're not going to go to the playoffs. How many times did something like that happen? Or in the Big Ten, right? This is the problem with it. But if you fix that by completely doing away by saying, okay, yeah, in the event that there is a gross injustice in the divisional system, then we'll paper over it and fix it for the playoffs. Like that, people are like, oh, okay, that's fine then. If you fix it if you use the playoffs to fix injustices in the divisional system, that
Yeah.
can work. But no one's talking about that. They're just like, let's go back to divisions, and then we're going to go back. Then we're going to have insane things where it's like Iowa's in the conference championship game now.
Yep. No, that's how you fix that is basically you would say your two division. This works in the Big Ten. Each division winner, that's great. And then your other two AQs, if it were, you take conference number 3 against conference number 6. Hosts conference number 6.
Yeah.
And conference number 4 hosts number 5. And those two are playing. That's so much better football. I hate to crap on the sport that I love. I honestly don't care who wins the Big Ten this year. If my team was in it, I'd probably care because it would be nice to win the Big Ten, a conference that we just joined. This is big for Indiana. But we've had a bunch of games that mean a whole bunch, and now like these games don't For the two big conferences, they don't really mean much. Okay, the SEC it might. If Alabama loses again, they might be in a little bit of trouble. I don't know. It means a lot, obviously, for the Sun Bowl or the Sun Bowl, Jesus, the Sun Belt. That's about it. I'm sure everybody wants to be Conference USA champ. That would mean a lot for Kennesaw State, but it's just not. It's not nearly as meaningful. And there's a way to leverage it, make it even more. Yeah, this is the real elimination game.
Yeah, like with Ohio State and Indiana, are we basically just determining who's on which side of the bracket? And both are probably gonna get first round buys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably going to be the winner gets the top seed and the loser gets the third seed. The SEC champion gets the second seed, and then that's it.
Yeah, if either team even loses by 20, I can't knock them out of the top 4.
Yeah.
I can't.
No.
Yeah, no. All right. Time to move on to the Jimbo Award. Little update from last week. My guy, Ryan Doherty, I took a little liberty with, I think, his LinkedIn profile should look like here. Might recall we had 5, just absolute horrible special teams play in the first half against Oregon. And my gosh, Robert, we did it again in the first half. We had a blocked field goal on our second field goal attempt from all of 38 yards. Awesome. It seems if you're within the 40, just shouldn't be blocked. And then later in the first half, again the first half, miss a field goal from 30 yards. Ryan Doherty, I appreciate your contributions, but I've officially dubbed you open to work here. Have you seen that little badge on LinkedIn? Are you on LinkedIn?
I am on LinkedIn, but I barely use it, though.
All right. You know what the little badge here of open to work means. I'm probably going to need a new job here. Yeah. So start getting the LA Times by the day, not the month here, my guy. I think you're done here. Hope you enjoyed El Segundo. The other one is, and I've been on this side, I've been on my side of this kind of thing too when it came to different coaches in the... There's a stupid graphic or stat about the coaches that have been at USC coaches when the game's at Notre Dame. But this is a little different. The last 5 Iron Bowls, Auburn's had 4 different coaches. How about that? Good job, Auburn. You had Brian Harsin in 21, Cadillac Williams in 22. We had what's known for Auburn as the area of stability, where Hugh Freeze actually made 2 in a row. Couldn't quite make it to this year, so DJ Durkin had the honors this year. Honest to God, I like Alex Golish. I don't know if you saw the video of him talking to the team. I feel sorry for him because he's got 43 idiot boosters that all think that they're his boss. So it'll be interesting to see what a very good coach who's yet to win a conference title does in just the lunacy that is Auburn football.
Yeah, I like Alex Golish too. I would have liked, I think for one of the requirements I like for head coaches is like consistent success. Yeah, he had a really good year, 100%. But the problem is that the year before was, I think they got a bowl game last year, I think, or no, I can't remember. I don't think they made.
No,
they had injuries and stuff.
Byron Brown was out, but
yeah, so
and that's what you could say about what's his name, Sumlin and Johnny Manziel, and how'd that work out for him at Texas A&M?
Exactly right. Yeah, so I think I want a bit more. Again, great coach. I would have loved to have seen him stay at USF and get 1 or 2 more good years out of USF, but again, Auburn was desperate, and I guess they wanted someone in the same kind of footprint as the SEC. I would have gone for someone else, but that's what Auburn wanted, so that's fine. I kind of think of the 3 SEC ones, of Arkansas, Florida, and Auburn, I think Auburn probably made the worst pick, but Alex Golish is good, though. He is good. We'll have to see how he does. I'm rooting for him. I like him. I like all 3 of them, but I think the Golish one was the most suspect, and especially at Auburn, I would have rather. I don't even know what you do at Auburn. I don't like people. This is amazing, God tier job, and I'm like, I don't think so. I feel like it's a top 5 job. It's not a top 5 job.
No,
it's not.
No, it's top 5 in the state of Alabama. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely better than Alabama State.
Yes, and UAB and Troy. Now, I will push back a little bit. I'll say I think Arkansas really botched their hire. Ryan Silverfield, in his, I believe it's 5-6 years at Memphis, has never finished higher than 3rd in the American. So I think they botched that.
I think that one was like the principle of that you beat us so you get the job now. Like the second order dominance theory of coaching.
Which is completely infallible.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Your Jimbo Award.
Yeah, I'm giving it to Michigan State here. So I get wanting to move on from Smith. I get it. But I would have given it a bit more time. But it's very clear that they had a deal agreed with Pat Fitzgerald before and just fired Mike Smith. Is Mike Smith, right? Yeah. Or
Jonathan Smith.
Jonathan Smith. They fired Jonathan Smith because they knew they were going to get Pat Fitzgerald. And I'd seen a couple of weeks ago some people were trying to rehabilitate him and be like, "Oh, he was a great coach. He'd be great because he's thinking looking coming back." And I'm like, "Yeah, he'd be a great coach in the Sun Belt or in the American." I would not have thrown him right back into the Big Ten, especially not a job that's a better job, arguably, than Northwestern. He went 110 and 101 at Northwestern. That's not really setting the world on fire. He went to a couple of bowls, lost most of them, 50-50 in bowls. The best bowl he went to was Citrus Bowl in the COVID season when they went to the Big Ten championship game, which I don't even know if you can count that. There's 8 asterisks on that one.
Yes.
So, this is far from, just looking at this resume, right, from 2006, a lot of years where they just bounce around 500, right? Okay, yeah, you have a 10-3 season, followed up by 2 5-7s, and then a 10-3 and 7-6, and a lot of just 7-6s, 8-5s. It's when I look at this, I'm not like, wow, he was amazing. It's just like he was okay. And I don't know. And there's a lot of baggage that does come with Fitzgerald here, too. I would not have done this. This seems like a bad idea. And I don't know why Michigan State is just, let's just do this really bad idea. It just seems like a really bad idea. But
if you're a Michigan State fan, how pissed are you that this is where you landed?
You've got to be. There's far better options. Again, I keep saying Bob Chesney. Bob Chesney is better than basically all these hires, with the exception of, I guess, Lane Kiffin. But
if you're going to do this, I would have just waited and then they're a basketball school anyways, Michigan State.
Yeah.
I would have just announced it the same night that they played Michigan in basketball. Just so nobody noticed it. By the way, we do coach Pat Fitzgerald. And
but the day after you fire Jonathan Smith, you're like, yeah, it's Pat Fitzgerald. I don't understand. With some of these guys, I think it's they have such deep friend networks. And they have their agents are so connected that they're just like, oh, we can get you this job and it's set. And it's just like, okay, but if you're at a point where you're like a friend of a friend is saying hire this guy, you should probably be questioning that.
I was about to say, what AD just says, okay, agent, you tell me who to hire?
Yeah.
Who wants that idiot as their AD?
That's very clearly what happened
here. Yeah, I guess. I don't...
Or something along that lines.
You know what I've learned in my 56 years on this planet is when something makes no sense at all, there's money involved. So, I don't know. I'll put it very circuitously here. I'll be very circumspect. I just wonder about the ultimate destination of all the funds involved here. I'll just say that. I'm wondering. I don't know. I'm not reporting. Curious, though. All right. Noted for future reference, few things here. This is interesting. Your new head coach at Ole Miss, his defense just gave up 262 yards rushing to a team that doesn't run the ball, Robert. Mississippi State.
Yeah.
No bueno. Post-game, this Georgia game was not really a fun watch.
No.
I just couldn't. I didn't have anything on it, and I didn't have a stake in either team. But you throw the post-game metrics and the BuckMetrics machine, and I come up with Georgia Tech 19, Georgia 12, with Tech with a 73% win probability. Look, it's one game. Georgia seemed to have turned the corner, but this is not really how I want to be heading into the postseason if I am Georgia.
I don't know what corner specifically. I mean, Georgia barely dispatched Georgia Tech. I had Georgia Tech plus 12.5 from, I think, early in the season. Never really worried about that at all. The money line would have been nice, but it just didn't happen here.
They deserved it, though.
They did deserve it. But if I'm Georgia, I'm suddenly very concerned about this SEC championship. They looked rough against Georgia Tech. Alabama looked rough against Auburn. Looked like they could possibly lose that game for a little bit there. And this is the thing, right? I had said this weeks ago. I don't think Georgia and Alabama are that good. And people are like, oh, no, the SEC is so deep, guys. So deep. But at the top, these don't seem to be particularly dominant teams. This is not the Georgia. This is not 2021 Georgia or 2022 Georgia. This is not 2019 Alabama or 2018. This is not an Alabama. These are not those teams. These are above average SEC teams that are definitely very mortal, and Oklahoma is as well. and as is Ole Miss is definitely has its faults as well. So again, the thing is, in Texas A&M very clearly has faults too. Like I think people like, oh man, the SEC is so deep, but like I would take any of the Big Ten teams over basically any of the SEC teams, just straight up. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna say that. Like of the three Big Ten teams that are very likely to make the playoff,
Oh yeah. Yep.
all of them are better than all the SEC teams, just straight up. They're not going to be ranked
Yep.
that way, but they are, just straight up.
Definitely from a playoff perspective, I agree 1,000%. I do think that the SEC is deeper, but it's the horse race that you're gonna have 5 horses across the track at the wire because none of them's really an awesome standout horse.
And because I think the SEC conference is larger than the Big Ten, too, I believe. So therefore, it's just a more
No,
diluted
no,
pool.
Big Ten's
So,
actually bigger.
oh, the Big Ten is bigger, yeah.
Yep.
So but the Big Ten plays an extra conference game too, and I think that's the point, right? So
Yep.
because of that, everybody basically the entire SEC basically schedules an FCS team, and then they just get a free win. Whereas USC has to play 9 games and Notre Dame, and one of the losses was obviously to Notre Dame, and one of them was to Illinois on the road. Oklahoma didn't have to do that. Alabama didn't have to do that. Georgia didn't have to do that either, right? So
Yep. Oklahoma did host Michigan, though. I'll give them that.
they did that. That's fine. Yes, and Texas did host Ohio State. Ohio State did play Texas, but like outside of that, like Georgia played an FCS team, Alabama played an FCS team, and other ones did too. Florida played Long Island State. They're not. Yeah, they're not. I'm not giving Florida laurels for playing Long Island State here. They did play Miami though, but fine, whatever. But this is the thing: is a lot of them got a couple of very easy wins, and USC played Notre Dame. So that's the thing. And I think USC is better than a couple of these SEC teams as well, but they're not going to get the chance to prove that, though. But
hopefully next year, but
yes,
we have plenty of months to figure that out. All right, last point. Don't overlook this, people, as a build-up to next week's preview. Scoring 49 points against Wake Forest is a big freaking deal. I brought up a couple times that Wake Forest had really turned the corner this year defensively. I still believe that. I think Duke, you've got Mensa at quarterback. This is a serious offensive team. So don't just think that Duke's going to not have a chance against Virginia.
No, I've actually, as a small preview for part 2, I have already bet Duke this week. I've bet for the Chaos.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm betting on. I'm not really that scared of Virginia. No, I'm not scared of Virginia. I bet on Duke. So
nice.
We'll talk about that in part 2.
We will, and Duck will be with us too. So join us all when we preview the conference title games. Thank you very much for joining us. We will see you in the conference title games preview shortly.